Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I will be showing you how to cut and sew a beautiful v-neck armhole princess blouse with a clean lace edge finish. So if you're ready, let's get started, guys. The first thing I did here is to mark out the length of the blouse. Yeah, so that way I think I did measure 26. You want to determine that on yourself or for your clients, and that way I'll cut it out after rolling the line. And then yeah, so another the next thing is you want to make sure your paper you have there is enough to take each of the sides. By the time I roll it now, you see we want to differentiate or demarcate the back from the front. So you want to make sure that each of the side is enough to take 1/4 of the biggest part of your measurement plus some allowance, maybe 1 or 2 inches allowance. Then you roll the paper, just roll the center, mark it center front and the center back, which is what I've done. The next thing we want to do now is to start by imputing half of the shoulder measurement, and that's what I'm going to do there. Half of the shoulder measurement, then I will extend it down. I also mark it down that way, half of the shoulder measurement, and that's what I've done. Although I still need to extend it furthermore, but to do that, we'll get to that later. We want to do the standard for the neckline that I normally use is 3 by 3 inches. Then I'll go ahead and use my curve ruler to connect it together that way. And that's for the neckline, 3 by 3. I'm still going to alter it into the neckline that I want. That's just the standard. And for the shoulder slant, I did make use of 1.5 at the shoulder over there, as you can see me do. And the next thing that we'll be doing is to get the chest line. To calculate the chest line, you want to divide your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Then after determining that, I got 8.5. You know, we came down by 1.5 for the shoulder line. Then I'm going to be adding everything together. That's what you see me do to be able to get the exact chest line. And everything together gives me 10 inches. So I'll roll it to the front and across to the back. And then, yeah, remember the half of the shoulder measurement, you want to bring it down to the chest line that way and extend the line further, and that's where the line is meant to get to. Then now we're going to extend it to the back, same chest line for the back, which is everything together that I used was 10 inches. So I'm just going to mark it and connect it together. Like I said, calculate it, bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Then here I'm going to be marking my half of the shoulder measurements on that part and on the chest line and connect the dots together. And then for the neckline, I used 3 by 3 for the front. This is going to be 3 by 1 inch. You can still alter this to your desired width or length. This is just the standard. And then after which I went ahead to do the shoulder slant for the back, which is 1 inch. That's for the shoulder slant. Remember, 1.5 for the front, 1 inch for the back. And then the next thing will be to insert all other lines, which is the bust point, shoulder to our nipple point, shoulder to our underbust, shoulder to your waist, and shoulder to your hip line. So that is what you see me do there. So just take it across that way. For the front side now, we don't need the shoulder to the nipple point. We don't need the shoulder to the underbust for the back. We only need it for the front. So I'll go ahead now and connect it that way. Roll the lines. That's the bust point line, and that is the underbust. And the next one will be the waist line. Then you want to also do that for the hip line. I'm trying to measure it from the waist to the hip line that way, and that will serve as the hip line. So that is that, guys. And then the next thing is that, for back and front, we don't use the same measurement. You want to measure that on yourself or your client, but the standard I normally use is 2 inches for everyone, and this has been working perfectly. So assuming the length for the front is 26, the back will be 24, and then we're going to rule that out because we're going to cut it out, and that will replace the bust that's for the front. We'll get to that later in the video. And then the next thing we want to do is to roll the waistline for the back and the hip line for the back as well. Remember, the difference is 2 inches. If your waistline at the front is 20, for the back is going to be 18. If your hip line is 24, for the back is going to be 22. You're taking that 2 inches difference out of it. You don't want to roll the same line for both front and back because the length is different, and we use 2 inches as the difference between the front and the back length. So I've gone ahead to do that, and then the next thing we want to do now is to do the back tightening. This is to eliminate those back bulge or folding at the back. I love to use 0.75. Then once I do that, I will connect it to the neckline, all the way to the neckline, and then to the hip line as well. For people with a very deep back, some people have this very deep back. The shape at the back is always deep. You can go ahead to just take 0.25 on the waistline, both up and down, then connect it to the side that way. But I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just showing you in this video. This will help to eliminate completely anything like back folding or bulge. So then let's go now to the front. The next thing we're going to be doing now is to impute 1/4 of the bust measurement on the bust line, and that's what you see me do. And on the waistline, 1/4 of the waist measurement plus 1.5. I love to use 1.5 as the dart intake. And then yeah, remember to always add your dart intake. And for the hip, 1/4 of the hip measurements, and that's what I've done there. Then I'll connect the lines together, yeah, that way, and to the bust as well. And that is the way it's looking. The shape looks that way because there's very little difference between the bust and the waist measurement. That's why. So now we want to get that line, which is nipple to nipple. I'm using 4 inches there, and then I'll connect the line all the way down from the bust point down to the end of the paper, or the end of the paper. And then we'll take our dart intake. Remember, I added 1.5, so you want to take 0.75 on both sides. If you're adding 1, or if you're using 1, you use 0.5 on both sides. Then connect it that way from your bust point to that waistline. And then on the hip line, I do come up by 1.5 inches, so you can decide how you want it to be. Then you connect it that way. That is it. The dart has been taken now. Can you see that? So, and that's for that. The next thing we're going to be doing is to get the princess dart cut sign. Or before then, we want to do the armhole shape. I went up by 4 inches, then went in by 0.5. Then I'll use my curve ruler to connect it. Remember, went up by 4 inches. Then at that point, I went in by 0.5. Then we connect it that way. That way we have our shape done, and make sure it's not sharp on that part. You want to blend it nicely, and that's what you see me do in the video. So then that is for the armhole, and for the back as well, we'll do the same thing. 1/4 of the bust measurement, 1/4 of the waist measurement. This has to be done from the line of the back tightening, not from the real center back. Now that's on the waistline, and same thing applies to the bust line as well. Only the hip line that you start from the main center back. So you connect it that way, and that's the way to go about to do that one. And yes, remember I told you need to start measuring from after that line. So I think the next thing we're going to be doing now is to get our that leg, yeah, and that's what you see me do. You need to start that from the center back, the original center back. I measure 4 inches, then I connect it together that way. Then I'll also take that on that part on the waistline, the dart which I added is the dart intake. Before then I came down by 1 inch from the chest line at the back, and then take 0.75 on both sides, connect it to where you came down by 1 inch, and then to the on the hip line as well you go up by 1.5. Sometimes I use 2 inches depending on the difference, or the length, or the, yeah, I'll say the inches between the waist and the hip line. Yeah, so that's done. Now we want to do the shaping of the armor for the back. You just measure what you have there and divide it into two, then go in by 0.5 to give it that shape, and then connect it from the shoulder slants, then down to the, connect it that way to the bust line, and there we have it. Our armor is done, nicely done. Next thing, we want to convert our pattern, alter it to a princess dart armor. Then what I would do is, yeah, I was trying to explain that to do that we need to just get our curve ruler like that, connect it to the part where you went in by 0.5 for the shaping of the armor. That way, can you see that? After doing that, you want to come down by 1 inch just to do the tightening on that part. Once you do that, you connect it again, connect it back that way. So we continue that way. Yes, and the next thing is to do the underbust tightening. I did normally use 1 point, mostly where after taking your underbust measurements. Before then, you want to do your, the difference we have for the back and the front, which is 2 inches. I did mark it from the bust point that way, then roll it to the side of the front. Sometimes we go in by 1 inch just to give the bust part a kind of a fullness. So you can either do it that way, or you connect it directly to the bust point, just to the where the dart is, where we measure for 4 inches on the bust point. So, and then the next thing we'll be doing is to do the tightening of the underbust. To do that, you want to measure around your underbust, divide it by 4, whatever you have there, mark it on the paper, and whatever differences you have after that, you want to distribute it between the two dart legs. And that's what I've done there. I was having like 1.5 inches. So to the side of the front, I took 0.5, and to this side, I did measure 1 inch. Yeah, sometimes we have 1/3, sometimes you can have 1.5. You can even have 2 inches as a difference. So you just want to distribute it on both sides, and then you go ahead and shape it that way. Go ahead and shape it, connect it to the waistline that way. And on this part too, you want to just make sure we're trying to use our armor ruler curve to get the shape. Remember, we did the back on the bust tightening, and then we had to just follow what I'm doing there. I believe you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just trying to blend it nicely with the shape of the armor princess that I've drawn, so that it doesn't come out looking too pointed, because that part needs to be nicely shaped. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get. When you're doing this part, you want to take your time and make sure you blend it nicely. Yeah, and that's what I've done. Remember, your underbust tightening, you need to just make sure you measure around your underbust. Take 1/4 of the measurement, mark it on your paper. Whatever difference you have left, you want to distribute between both sides. And that is what I've done there. Then you connect that part where we do the underbust tightening to the waistline that way. And there we have it. All that part is going to go. We're going to be cutting those parts off later on. So that is it for that one, guys. And then you want to extend the line up by 1 inch on that part. Then redraw your armor, redraw the armor, and that's what I've done. And you can see it, I'm trying to make it bold. Yeah, and that is it, guys. we've done the tightening on that part. And now I'm just going to slash open, cut the paper, separate the paper so that I can close the bust dart. Now the bust dart, I did use 2 inches, which is the difference between the back and the front measurement. And to be able to close that, I need to open out the paper, cut it that way, yeah, all the way up, then try and close the darts. Yeah, I also did the fullness. I told you if you want to add for measure for busts that are over 38, you can always go in by 1 inch there on the bust point, yeah, yes. And then before you draw your 2 inches and close it that way, as you see me do. This is just to add a kind of a fullness. I don't use it all the time, even for busts that are over 40. So you can choose to either do it that way and just close the pattern as you see me do. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Just close the pattern, and that is it. You can see the opening there. That's just to give it a little bit of fullness. On that part, you can sellotape it down. You can even add extra paper to just close the opening there, to add to the opening. So either way. So, and then one more thing you want to do on that part, after you close the bust dart, you want to make sure you blend that part. If not, there's going to be shortage. We can see from the paper and from the video that there is need for us to reshape that side. So now I'm trimming off the darts because we do not need that part. We just need to take that out, and that way, can you see it? Then I'll go ahead and cut it that way as you see me do. Yeah, and that is it for the side of the front. One of the side fronts is ready, and there we have it. So that is it, guys. Like I said, you can sellotape it down, and on this part you want to cut that part out. We don't need that part where we did the tightening. That part I'm cutting off. You want to cut that out. Go ahead, cut the that side out, that way to the hip, just all the way that way, and that is it. And as well as the shoulder slants 1.5. Also the neckline, I'm still going to alter it, like I said, because the style is a v-neck one. Yeah, it is a v-neck one. This one I'm trying to do because I want to make the width to be wider. I actually did, what I did there is 5 by 4 inches, but I'm still going to alter it actually to the v-neck that I want. Yeah, I'm going to be using this pattern for another style, so that's why I decided to cut it that way. But we'll still get to that part where we're going to alter it into the v-neck that we need for this particular style. So that is it, guys. So we get to that, we'll still get to that. So if you want to alter the neckline, you can always do that. If you want to give it a yoke, this is like cutting 2 patterns, using a pattern for 2 different styles, but we'll definitely get to that. Yeah, so, and that is our pattern paper set ready for the front. Just that we need to alter the neckline, which is going to be the next thing that we'll be doing after cutting out the back paper pattern. So now to alter the back pattern to a princess dart armor, you want to do it that way. Extend the line using the curve shape to the midpoint there, and then go out by 0.5 and reconnect it back that way. You need to go out by 0.5 because by the time you'll be joining it back, it is likely to be shortage, but with this you have it perfect, like there won't be any shortage. So I also did the alteration for the back, or came down by 1 more inch, which is going to be like 4 inches width and 2 inches of the depth. So you can always alter your neckline And this is the actual neckline I'll be using for the back, except for the front that I still need to alter to a V-neck. Go ahead and cut it out that way. Can you see what I'm doing there? You want to cut that part out. Yeah, all the way to the darts. That's legs that way. And all the way down. And remember, we're cutting that part of 2 inches difference off the pattern paper. And then I'll go ahead and do the remaining, cut out the back tightening parts. And then go ahead and do the remaining for the back. I'm taking my time to do this, for probably we have beginner watching this. And then yeah, just to make sure you all get it and see the way I went ahead to cut the pattern paper. I do just want to do this behind the camera. If you have watched this video to this level, you want to do well to just give it a like, a comment, and subscribe if you are yet to subscribe to my channel. And then we have our back pattern set ready. Can you see that? Same with the front pattern. Next is for us to alter the back pattern. Now we're going to alter the back pattern into the neckline that we want, and I'll be showing you how to do that. So now I want to transfer the center front pattern. Now this needs to be transferred on another paper, and the paper, you want to make sure that you have it on fold, because we need to open it out to be able to alter it into the neckline we need. Can you see that? Just go ahead and do that. We've transferred it, and then yeah, can you see that? So now I've taken that out, and this is exactly what we need. Now we want to measure how deep we want the V-neck to be. We want to go ahead and measure it. I think I did made this of 8.5 thereabouts, and the width of the neckline still the same as 4 inches, the one I have on the master paper, I would say. Then next thing we're going to do is to slash that part up to the on the bust line. You can decide that, but from the picture of the style, does look like it's right under the on the bust, stops there. So like I said, please subscribe, comment, and like. Share me out, guys. I've gone ahead to slash it open, and then we're going to be transferring this on our fabric. How do we do that? You want to make sure the neckline falls on the part where we have the lace edge, just as you see me do. Make sure you pin it down. It's important to pin it down, guys. So remember, the lace edge went all the way to the on the bust line, and that is what you see me do. Ensure it's laid nicely. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pin it down. And then for this part, the biggest part, the other one you see me place on the fabric now, we don't need to add any sewing allowance or whatever, because that is the part of the edge now. The only part you'll be needing the sewing allowance is for the body, which I'm still going to get there and to explain to you better. The part of this lace edge, you don't need to add any allowance to it. I just want to cut it out from the fabric so that I'll be able to place it nicely, and that is what I've done. Pin it down. Go ahead and pin it down that way. Just trying to test and see the other pattern, how it's going to be. Yes. So, and then the next thing we want to do is on that part you see me cut, I added 0.5 for the joining allowance. On the shoulder, 0.5. On the side where we'll be joining to the other side, all around is 0.5 that I made use of, because this is a center pattern. So 0.5 all the way around. I already have enough length, so that's why I'm adding 0.5 on that part. So remember, for on the shoulder and every other side, you want to add 0.5 for the sewing allowance. And then this other one here, the other pattern as well, you want to make sure you place it on the lace edge parts. And then once we do that, every other places we're going to be adding our joining and sewing allowance. This is very important. very important. I had it 0.5. It's very simple, and yeah, 0.5 all the way around like that. And on this part as well, I had it 0.5 too, just as you see me do there. And then the shortest part and the other part, the smallest part or the short part of it, that part is gonna go under, as you see me doing the video, underneath the lace edge of the other pattern paper. Yes, so then I went ahead to pin it down that way, and I'm going to be top stitching. Before you top stitch, you want to do well to overlock it. Yeah, then there we have it, guys. We have our lace edge properly placed, as you can see, and that is it. Depending on the type of your lace and the lace edge as well will determine how the look is going to be. But make sure you make use of the lace edge on that part to be able to have that result. I went ahead to transfer the side of the front pattern, and then added my sewing allowance 0.5, and then on the side I added 1.5 inches. I did the same thing for the back, but then the next thing we're going to be doing is I'm just trying to test it and see. So this is the back pattern. I've gone ahead to transfer it and then added 1 inch zipper allowance at the back. Now time to join it together. I'm going to be top stitching on that part that I pinned earlier. So that's what you see me do, top stitching on it to hold it down. That's the way I to do. That's the way I did it, and yeah, it came out looking nice. Can you see that? Still trying to test and see before joining the sides. So now time to join the side. Go ahead and join the sides to the pattern, to the center pattern, that way. On your sewing allowance, I use 0.5 like I said. If yours is 1, you want to make use of 1 so that you can have an accurate measurement and fitting. So that is it, guys. And then after doing that, you want to notch it and give it a good press. I haven't ironed it at this stage. Yes, I just thought to finish everything before ironing. So I've joined the other side too, and for the back pattern as well, I'll go ahead and join those panels together that way and this other together. Then yes, and that's what I'm doing, guys. We join all the panels together, and then after which we need to go ahead after doing that to turn the neckline for the back with a cutting bias. We're going to get there. So I'm making use of my cutting bias to turn the neckline. So that's the way I'll go about to do it. Right side facing the right side of the fabric, and then I'm going to be extending it down. I'm sewing on 0.5 though. Yeah, so you want to make sure your cutting bias is 0.25 away from where you want to sew, so that you'll be able to sew all like 0.5, exactly 0.5, which we use for the front as well. So that is it, guys. Go ahead, top stitch, turn it that way, top stitch and turn it. I'm still going to show you share another video of how to turn the neckline, but this is me just doing this in this video because I don't want the video to be too long. And then you go ahead and top stitch, turn it and top stitch, and there we have it, guys. There we have it. So the next thing will be to just join our shoulders together. Can you see that? Match it together that way, pin it down. I want to make sure you overlock. Yeah, for knitting purpose, overlock it. I've joined it that way on both sides. Go ahead and join it. After joining, I went ahead to insert my zipper, and then I'll show you how it looks, how it is looking thereafter. If you have watched to this stage, thank you so much for watching, guys. Do well to subscribe, do well to like, share me out, guys. And then I did join the sides together on the sewing allowance. The only thing I've not done here is to put a sleeve. Yes, because I'm still, this is just to show you how to achieve that v-neck. I'm still considering changing this particular blouse to a dress. I'll just cut out from the half length and join I like it, make a pleat to turn into a dress, actually, because the remaining fabric won't be enough for a wrapper. So this is me just to show you how to cut the style. Yes, and there we have it, guys. Can you see that?